The New York mayor-elect Mamdani, oh God, where are we? Is picking his theme, sort of his transition theme about how everything's gonna work, who is gonna be part of his sort of maybe not necessarily administration, but sort of his rule, I guess. And one of his latest picks is Abby Stein, that's her name now, who is a transgender anti-Zionist rabbi who's also a member of Jewish Voice for Peace, which is an anti-Israel organization, which, among other things, I think they are the ones who did the sit-in in Trump Hotel, one example, and generally very disturbing organization, basically, committing while I mean, property violence is or property sort of breaking is type of violence or property violation. So yeah, this is the person we'll be talking about today. We might bring up a few more people, but this is what we'll talk about today. Welcome to the reality show. I'm Daniel. Joining me today is James Valiant, and I mean, James, what do we make of this person?
Well, Mondami's slated appointments are not terribly surprising, and not all in one way. I mean, he's saying he's going to keep on the police chief, for example, which I guess is a contrasting example of this. But on his personal staff and in other appointments, you can absolutely expect appointments of this kind. Um, that is to say, she's Jewish, and boy, is he going to look, see, people said I was anti-Semite, but here I am appointing a Jewish person. Now, a Jewish person who's anti-Zionist and clearly very, very left-wing, that's the sort of Jewish person who will get appointments of that sort from Mamdani. Now, he is just the mayor of New York City. A lot of the effect of what he'll be able to do will depend upon cooperation with New York state government. He can't significantly raise taxes, for example, in New York City without the state government going along with it. And I don't think the state government will go along with most of that. And he's whatever the love fest that went on in the Oval Office the other day between the two, a despicable thing, and people should see our episode that we did on that a couple of days ago. It really a vile, despicable thing that says something very bad, I think, about both parties to that meeting. In any case, Mondami is trying to moderate his image, and that was a big part of that. So he won't get cooperation. He'll get some cooperation from Trump, who won't want to look like he's standing in the way of success from his pragmatic standpoint. On the other hand, I don't expect he'll get much help with the real socialist policies he has, either from the federal or state government. But insofar as he's able to do things in New York City, it will, and what he promised to do. So it's like most politicians, will they keep their promises? And in many cases, there's really no relationship to what they said and what they do. But an appointment like this does indicate that he does mean what he says and mean what he said on the campaign trail. And that's the kind of appointment that I think we can kind of expect. Now, what effect that will have on New York City, the actual policies of the city, has yet to be seen. But look, it can't be good in this particular case. Um, I have no problem. Let me just say right up off the board, if someone has a sincere transgender issue, I have no problem with transgender appointments. When you make yourself, though, an anti-Zionist transgender activist, now I'm beginning to have some distinct concerns, and that begins to paint a portrait of someone who's not going to be terribly rational, and let me suggest, not terribly just. We were talking in the Daily Objective just minutes ago about equal treatment under the law. Do you feel confident that there will be equal treatment under the law in New York City for Jewish people, even with this Jewish appointment? I do not. My fears are precisely the opposite. And understand, yes, these people do believe that free speech means the right to violate other people's rights. Mamdani himself supported the Columbia uh, protests, which were nothing but property smashing, window grabbing, hostage taking, even path blocking, threats issued, property damage, intimidating Jewish students. He thinks that's free speech. And this appointment of his apparently also thinks that free speech includes the right to violate other people's rights. And that, of course, is a contradiction in terms. If you know the objectivist approach to politics and ethics, you know that that is a misunderstanding of the very concept of rights. The concept of rights applies to all humans insofar as they are humans, simply in virtue of the fact that they are humans. And that is what is behind the idea that government must treat everyone equally, regardless of their race, their religion, their national origin. And do you expect that kind? Now, the left used to tout this notion of equality, but no, the left has increasingly become well, there are forces on the right that are increasingly vocally anti-Semitic. With this rising tide of anti-Semitism, a pro-Palestinian person, simply because, and that's the cover here, because the person is Jewish. And it's so funny because it gives the lie to the idea that all Jewish people have the same opinion. They're a monolithic force. They control the world. All the anti-Semitic tropes that we hear. No, but you can dig up, of course, probably, you'll have to look among people who are highly college educated to become that much of a self-hating Jew. You probably requires a good deal of philosophical brainwashing at one of our fine Western universities. But if you get yourself the properly educated and propagandized person who comes from a Jewish background, you can say, see, I've appointed a Jew. See, even if they're pro-Palestinian, even if they're a left-wing activist. But there you go. But are you confident that people will be treated equal in New York City because of appointments like this? No, my confidence is going in the opposite direction. The next thing we should expect is no Jews welcome here. Put the sign in, and they'll have someone with a name like Stein that people will think is Jewish in charge of enforcing it.
And yeah, her name is Stein. I mean, yeah, when it comes to sort of, Mamdani trying to put forward a picture that, look, I'm not anti-Semitic. Here is a Jew that I appoint. It's like me saying, look, I'm not racist. I'm a friend with Candace Owens. It's like, like, what do you
Some of
mean?
my
Like,
best friends are Jewish.
yeah, and it's always like this. Like, we have like Jewish allies, and it's like the most like almost more anti-Semitic kind of people than even like generally people. I mean, specifically talking about Abby Stein. And sort of going into her past. So, in the past, during Biden's presidency, apparently she was kicked out of the Pride Party in the White House for
How do you do
some of her
that? How
comments.
do you get so obnoxious that you're kicked out of the Pride Party at a Democrat White House?
Not obnoxious. It was specifically for her comments. When Iran attacked Israel with a barrage of rockets, just a week before, she had a sit down with the president of Iran. This is the kind of Jewish person that we are talking about. When she talks about Israel, as with many LGBT people, they always use the term pink washing, right? The fact that you don't throw gays from your buildings, that's just pink washing the regime. Again, as somebody who is transgender, Abby Stein, what would most of Middle East do? Like, I don't think you would be even allowed to enter most of those states. I don't think the many Middle Eastern states don't even accept the idea of transgender to even enter to actually do something to you. And this is always what happens, right? She also talks about, united future or better future for all Israelis and Palestinians, but that's fundamentally not recognizing what Palestinians and Israelis want. Israelis want to live in peace, want to be left alone, have always wanted that. Palestinians want to destroy the state of Israel. That is simply the fact. That's what is going on, that what has happened for the history of the existence of the Israeli state, and even before, if you go to like the Grand Mufti, this is this is what is happening. So trying to act as, you just want good things, you just want nice things to happen, while ignoring what is actually happening. I mean, it's like saying, I want Nazis and Jews to like stay peaceful. But, well, one side fundamentally doesn't want the other side to exist. I don't know what you want. Well, technically, even Jews don't really want Nazis to exist, which is a good thing. But you know, Nazis wanted to kill all Jews. Palestinians want to kill all Jews. Where is a compromise on that?
There is no compromise possible. No, the ones with the explicitly genocidal motives, the ones who state in print their genocidal motives, the Palestinians and the Iranians, the ones who engage in horrific atrocities such as October 7th on purpose as a matter of policy, not as, a side, one soldier commits something that was wrong. No, this was filmed by Hamas on October 7th. This was their policy to use rape and torture and mutilation. That's what these atrocities were intentional, planned. They are explicitly genocidal in their statements, in their written statements. Our trans activist here must surely know what goes on in Iran, must surely know what happens to homosexuals, much less there's no, Iran will proudly say, we don't have an issue with gays and transgenders in our country. No, because you kill them all, and anyone who you don't kill or imprison is so frightened for their life that they never come out of the closet. Okay, now for a transgender person to meet with the leader of Iran and to take the side of Iran and the Palestinians over Israel, because she believes Israel is itself a corrupt thing. Iran's genocidal motives are explicit. They want the complete destruction of the Zionist entity Israel and the slaughter of 8 to 9 million people, 8 to 9 million Jews living in the region. That is what Iran explicitly wants. Now here, think of all the layers of self-deception and self-hatred this person has. She comes from a Jewish background, transgender activist, and she's out there meeting with the leader of Iran and defending Palestinian culture. Now, that is a level of cognitive dissonance and confusion. She would be executed by these people in a heartbeat if she actually ever went over there and said, hey, shake hands with Hamas or shake hands with they'll shake hands with her. But if she was ever living there, she'd be gone in 10 seconds flat. They'd throw her from a building, hang her from a chain. She could never be a citizen of the Islamic Republic of Iran. She could never be a citizen of some Palestinian state in a two-state solution.
Well, actually, let me just jump in. Technically, in Iran, yes, because if you're a gay person in Iran, they'll forcefully transition you. So that's the way it can stay legal.
And, genuinely that will change their psychologies. And any body dysphoria they have or any true sexual preference they have, will just get under the surface. No, this is human torture that this person is advocating. And mind you, death and torture against Jews and transgenders that this Jewish transgender activist is believing in as she is defending Palestinians and meeting with the leader of Iran. Now think about that mental confusion. That is the situation in which the progressive left finds itself in the West. They defend the most savage, medieval, regressive ideas and culture on this globe in the face of a country like Israel, where gays do have rights, where women do have rights, where there is a modicum of free speech, where there is a representative government, an advanced technological society. So you think that you know what progressivism means. It means savage, primitive. I'll say it like I did about the Palestinian promoting doctor from Britain. These people are knuckle-dragging savages who go under the false moniker of liberal or progressive when they in fact advocate going back to the Dark Ages. They're defending at every step the society in this world today that would drag us back into a dark age.
Somebody says Iran has no problem transitioning gay men. I don't think that's the same thing. I think there is a difference between, somebody having, I'm not sure what it, like gender dysphoria or whatever the sort of term is right now. And, there is a question if transitioning sort of like is the best way to sort of deal with that. There is a question, and, willingly like choosing that. There is a difference between that and forcing gay men to transition when they have no gender
Come
dysphoria,
on.
where there is no reason even to do so, just for the fact that they are, attracted to the same sex as they are.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know, there's a concept. In fact, there was a book long ago written by an American philosopher named James Burnham, The Suicide of the West. I don't agree with everything he said, but the title is a very revealing one, and much of the theme is a very revealing one. When you're talking about the suicide of civilization, the suicide of the West, think of it. You've got a uh, from Jewish origin, a trans activist, well educated, advocating the side of savagery and medieval bigotry. Think about that. That could anything more embody or personify the suicide of civilization that's going on today? Hard for me to imagine.
Uh, Somebody says that I'm incorrect. I mean, you can correct me like what I'm incorrect about, and but we'll move on from this. But yeah, being gay is illegal in Iran, as far as I understand. But yeah, they allow to like change your gender, which again, I have a whole problem even with the idea that you change your gender or like transition on a whim. I could see it as like if you actually have a psychological problem of gender dysphoria. I think there is something there, but forcing again, this is force, right? If somebody says you cannot be gay but you can transition, that is forcing somebody to transition. That is the only way you can especially if it is like mandated by state. So
Saying
the
your
idea that
private,
it's allowed, that it's somehow like a progressive thing or like a good thing, is insane.
yeah, and saying your private thoughts are legal. Of course, your private thoughts are legal in a prison cell. Okay, let me know when a gay bar opens up in Tehran.
Yeah, but sort of moving into, I'm not sure. So another person that is being part of Mamdani's team that I've read about is Tamika Mallory. She was big part of the Women's March, as well as Abby Stein. I think she was involved with Women's March. This person, Tamika Mallory, has told her Jewish co-founder, "Your people hold all the wealth." She's also a big fan of Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam, which I don't know. I have very little actual information about. I just generally have heard about it and know
They're a
maybe.
despicable
Yeah.
anti-Semitic organization. Louis Farrakhan has been hating Jews for many decades in my country. And that is very revealing of Mr. Mamdani's position on things, that he would even have someone who worked for Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam on his staff. I mean, no, he himself is anti-Semitic if he can even put people like this on. And that's the thing. She's got the name Stein. She's Jewish. But she's pro-Palestinian. Now over here, what we've got is a woman who worked for Louis Farrakhan, just a straight up, full on anti-Semite, Jew hating anti-Semite like Louis Farrakhan. No, the mask is off. But what was it ever on? Mamdani is anti-Semitic. I'm going to repeat it. He's anti-Semitic, and his appointments are reflecting that very strongly. I don't care if one or two even come from a Jewish background. And
Uh,
it does not bode well for the policies of the city of New York, for the most important city in my country. No.
yeah, again, this person, Mallory, she also has a photo with Farrakhan where she calls him the GOAT, the greatest of all time. She also attended a Nation of Islam event where Farrakhan denounced satanic Jews and declared them the mother and father of apartheid. The Jews have control over those agencies of government. So again, you could say that like Mamdani has, because Mamdani is he's not like an independent. He is the Democratic candidate, or now a mayor-elect for New York. So sort of you could say, maybe he is moderating, maybe he is trying to, or somebody like AOC, like people say that about her, right? AOC is sort of like going away from the squad, is trying to like moderate itself. But when it comes to the actual appointments, I mean, fundamentally, it doesn't matter as much as who the sort of the guy in charge is, as much as who are the people acting on their behalf, right? It's doesn't necessarily matter that Trump was in charge either during this presidency or last, but who are the actual people on the positions? What is the actual policy that they are enforcing, right? It doesn't matter what Trump's position, or does matter, but to some extent, it almost doesn't matter what is Trump's position on Israel and Ukraine. It matters what Steve Witkoff's, somebody who is in complete charge of this, is on position on Israel and Ukraine. And sort of going back to Mamdani, openly he might say he's okay with the Jews, or he doesn't have. I think he denounced. I don't know if you remember, there was an event, an anti-Zionist event outside of a synagogue, and Mamdani denounced the event. But then he goes on and appoints people like this, people like Abby Stein. She's a member of the Jewish Voice for Peace. People who are organizing these events. I don't know if specifically this outside of a synagogue was, but these type of events are organized by these types of organizations. So it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you say you believe. The actions matter, and what the kind of people you appoint, the kind of policy you take, and this is the kind of policy Mamdani is taking.
Well, that's what politicians do. They'll come in and then they'll lie about their position because if it's unpopular. And after all, there is a large Jewish population in New York, so Mamdani will have to lie to a certain extent. But then, as you point out, look at the people he's appointing. I mean, this person who's associated with Farrakhan, the satanic, yeah, that you quoted Farrakhan. Believe me when I said Farrakhan was straight up a Jew hater, your quotes were accurate. It's satanic. They're the source of evil in this world. Farrakhan's comments on the Jews as a whole are some of the most despicable anti-Semitic statements you'll ever find. And he was an African American activist. And it's so funny. He's Jewish people, the gods of apartheid. Well, we use the word ghetto in my country to refer to black neighborhoods, African American neighborhoods, where they were not in every case, but back in the days of Jim Crow, in effect, forced segregation was happening. But do you know where that term comes from? It comes from the apartheid against Jews in Europe. The term ghetto comes from an Italian word because Jews in Italian city-states like Venice were forced into narrow, walled-off communities. So the apartheid that Jews have suffered in the Muslim and Christian world are actually what gives us the concept ghetto. And so the idea that the most religiously diverse and racially diverse place in the Middle East, Israel, is a center of apartheid, tells you just how awful this appointment by Mamdani is, because of her association with Farrakhan. No, that person cannot be just towards Jews. That person is a Jew hater on the face of it. And that is the kind of appointment that this mayor-elect is putting in charge of something, even if it's just an advisory panel, much less an administrative post in New York City's government. They cannot treat the large Jewish population in New York City with equal justice before the law. It gives me no confidence in that, whatever. So whatever comes out of Mamdani's mouth doesn't really matter. It's the appointment of a Farrakhan associate that gives me grave concern that anti-Semitism will only get worse, even in New York City, even in the United States of America. And I am very, very sickened by that.
Yeah, and just to mention that Tamika Mallory, the one familiar with Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam, she is being appointed to the Committee on Community Safety. So yeah, she'll make sure everybody's
You know,
safe.
you
And
know, the
yeah,
Jewish people in Brooklyn have been attacked, victimized by so many hate crimes swastikas written on synagogues, property crimes, threats. Okay, the public safety in New York City, right. Does the large Jewish community in New York City feel safer today because of this appointment, Mr. Mamdani? Whatever you say? No. They ought to feel less safe.
And Abby is being appointed to the transition team committee on health. So I guess that connects kind of nicely to the daily objective we did about the NHS doctor who is also a Jew hater. But thankfully, she at least was suspended. But this person actually gets that job. Maybe because of it, maybe in spite of it. Uh, well, I guess with that, James, do you have any closing thoughts for Abby or?
You know, we can talk about the rise, the disgusting rise of anti-Semitism that's coming from crowds that are chanting, mobs in Amsterdam that throw people into the cold canals, um, uh, Israeli embassy workers that get shot, cries, death, death to the IDF at rock concerts in Great Britain. We can talk about all that, but when it becomes elected politicians, when it becomes government servants, as they're called, that are doing this and saying this, we seem to be crossing over into a place where it becomes policy. And when we go from the angry mobs with their pitchforks and torches to a place where they're getting responsible policy positions in one of the great cities of the world, our anti-Semitism has reached a new place. And I'm sorry to report that on this otherwise beautiful Thanksgiving Day in America, but that's the sad truth. If you're not a paid subscriber to Ayn Rand Center UK, please do consider it. This year's Irreplaceable Spark Conference was one of a kind. You might want to actually think about coming to next year's Irreplaceable Spark Conference. It promises to be just as exciting. So that'll be my closing thought on a more positive note, given the news stories that we've covered today.
And of course, use the Thanksgiving as an opportunity to check out the Irreplaceable Spark Conference too on objectivism.co.uk. There's still super early bird pricing available just for basically until the end of the week, starting Monday or like late into Monday. The super early bird pricing is gonna run out, so you can still get your tickets now. That's in Austin, Texas, Irreplaceable Spark Conference too. James, thank you for joining me today. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow with another episode of the Daily Objective and the reality show. Until then, bye bye.
Be safe.